We Adam, Tom Hitchcock. How are you?
Hey, Tom. Very well, thank you. Great to be here with you.
Yeah, it's nice to have you here. Now, we were chatting a little bit before, and you were saying that you got back-to-back podcasts. Is this almost what you do for a living? Is be a podcast interviewee?
There's more to it than that for sure, Tom. Yeah, yeah, very privileged to be asked to present on multiple podcasts every month. So very much a core part of what we do for sure.
Okay, and when you do these other podcasts, is there a commonality in theme?
Yeah, well, there's certainly the commonality around obviously LinkedIn, because clearly that's the space we play in. Uh, from there, it can vary. Some people seem to be super interested in the story of how I got to kind of where I am today, and others are interested more in the nuts and bolts of how LinkedIn itself works. So it tends to be a bit of a varieties. Otherwise, it'd be a real groundhog type day for me, presenting and saying the same thing over and over. So yeah, it's a bit of a variety, which is great.
Oh, I always said I used to make the joke. Yeah, I'm a dad, so we qualify for dad jokes. I always said if they want to re-release, if they want to do Groundhog Day 2, they should just re-release the original and just have it playing again. But anyway, bad jokes to one side. So LinkedIn's the commonality. Now, I remember back in the early-ish days of my career, when LinkedIn came to life, it crossed my path, my email. I didn't know what it was. I signed up because it looked like I should do. And I got my first message, which I still haven't replied to, which whoever it is, I do apologize. You look at simulation myself, okay? So you've probably seen LinkedIn come into fruition. Before LinkedIn was a core part of what you did, what was you?
Yeah, it's a good story. It's so this what I've been doing with LinkedIn has been for the last 10 years now, going into the 11th year. However, first business I started when I was 24, which is 36 years ago. So that was believe it or not, in the water ski and snow ski industry. And if you don't know where I live in the most summer place you can possibly live, which is the Gold Coast in Queensland, and there's no snow anywhere near in sight for thousands of miles or kilometres. However, it was very successful, and we grew that into 3 stores in Queensland. And did that for quite a number of years. That morphed into the boating industries, which is aligned with the water skiing side. It's manufacturing an American brand of ski boats here in Australia under license for them. And then went into the organic skincare industry of all things, Tom. But that was a bit of a life journey, as having sold out of those other businesses, and probably the only time in my life for a long, long time where I'd run a business for someone else. And it was that business, believe it or not, the organic skincare, that got me on the journey to where we are today. And mostly how that came about was I was researching how other businesses similar would sort of promoting themselves around the world. And the company I was running, they weren't a lightweight, but weren't massive in as far as skincare industry goes. We were doing about $1 million a month in online sales. So it's a kind of a reasonable size in that industry. And anyway, what it turned out to be, and we're talking, this was like 15, 16 years ago, that the businesses or the companies that were doing really well were just really good early adopters of social media from a business perspective. And back then, I think I had a Facebook account like everyone did, but I religiously checked in on it once a month or so, like you did with your LinkedIn. And but it just piqued my interest on social media from a business perspective. And the more I kind of delved into that, the more I just kind of resonated with LinkedIn. I just kind of got it. It was a super clunky platform back then. Some would say it still is. It's evolved a lot, but it's not a simple platform. But if you know kind of how to navigate it, it's fine. And I just kept going deeper and deeper into LinkedIn and what it could do, and over a number of years, I was, as I said, I was running this business for somebody else, and before that, I'd had my own businesses, and I always knew I was going to go back into my own business at some point. And it just seemed like a good kind of thing to dip my toe in the water with. And so, I'd really had a lot of success using LinkedIn. And so I just started almost like a side hustle, helping some companies to improve their presence on LinkedIn. And that just kept growing and growing and growing to a point where I had to make a decision. I couldn't, with all integrity, still be the general manager of this other company and have my own business that was getting bigger and bigger. So I had to go one way or the other, and I chose to dive into the world of LinkedIn, and which was 10 years ago. And started out with just myself and a one team member in the Philippines that I had helping me out. To today, we're one of the most recognised and biggest LinkedIn agencies in the world.
Yep, love it. Then so I think the word for today is going to be organic. It keeps popping up. There's there with skincare. It's there with the conversation. But I think it's there with your story. Okay, because the whole spirit of a side hustle is it doesn't remain a side hustle. At some point, it has a tipping point where it takes over importance, your demand for attention over your core work or your core business. And that by definition is organic, because that's how this should be, and it's what you've lived. Do you see this happen a lot with other people with side hustles?
Look, there's a good mixture that I find, Tom, that we have people come to us who are very much ingrained into whatever it is that they're doing, and then others, as you say, that they want to build a bit of a side hustle. And what's really interesting is often one of the main industries we work with are business coaches around the world, and often there's a number of business coach franchises, let's just say, and often the coaches in that are somewhat restricted by geographical locations under their license agreement or whatever it may be. And so they often come to us to say, hey, I want to use LinkedIn to build. I have this other way of coaching that's not part of the franchise. I want to keep my franchise because that's my bread and butter, but I want to build this side hustle that's still in coaching but slightly different, that goes outside of my territory. So that's one really interesting one. The other one is where what you just mentioned was super prevalent, was obviously when we all went through the COVID-19, and there were so many people displaced from their roles, and actually had no option, no choice but to pivot into something else. So I wouldn't call it a side hustle at that point. They had to make a big pivot into something new, and so a lot of people came to us and said, look, the business I've worked for 20 years has just shut down, or it's out of business. We don't know how long. I've got all this skill and everything in this space. How could you help us to get a presence on LinkedIn and kind of do? And a lot of them had been on podcasts and things before, and they said, I want to do what you did. I want to transition from this into something else, and you've done it. So you guys are the guys who love to kind of work with to do that. So in very varying ways, there is exactly that, this real benefit of being able to niche yourself into something new, or something alongside an existing sort of revenue stream.
Okay, so is it fair to say that your personal hunting ground is entrepreneurs?
Yeah, so we kind of specialize with, we only really work with the founders or CEOs, or at least a really significant person within the organization. LinkedIn, as you know, can be used for many, many different things. In its early days, it really was a job site for most people thought of it was just a place you parked your resume, and it kind of was back in the early days. It still has that element, but there's many, many different ways you can use it now. And so our specialty is very much just the founder CEO levels. And what I mean by that is we don't really work with, say, sales teams and people that are, I'm not going to say it in a negative way, but that using it just to prospect for business. I'm not putting it in a negative way, because at the end of the day, that's what we're all doing. Our thought on the process, or at least the place we want to play, is with those founders and CEOs that really want to develop their own brand, their own voice, their own identity, and then use that visibility and credibility to then generate new business. So at the end of the day, yes, we're all doing that. We just have a very specific way that we go about doing it.
Okay. All right. And with how business owners, founders, and directors and the like, how they use LinkedIn to create their personal brand, their brand associated with their business. Are there common mistakes that they all make?
Oh, 100%, all the time. And really what they come down to, the most significant ones are that, your profile, by default, people think it should be all about ourselves. Realistically, how you need to optimize your profile, which is the terminology we use, is you've got to make it all about the value you deliver and who you deliver it for. Because if you think that, if I had my profile and I just talked about, hey, we do all this stuff on LinkedIn, then we would be attracting all people people that were looking for jobs, people that were our sales teams and all that type of thing. Whereas we have this very specific niche that we operate in. So we've got to make it very, very clear as to who we serve and how we serve them. That's the biggest one. And then the second one is they believe everything has to be about marketing. And at the end of the day, yes, I agree it is. But LinkedIn's algorithms and the way it's evolved over the years, and especially in the last 18 months, has now become a platform that only values what they call thought leadership level content. So your content has to be all about how, you don't necessarily have to be giving away free advice all the time, far from it. But you've got to be showing that you are the authority in your space, that you know what you're talking about, and that the real value is for people to reach out and talk to you about the pain points they have and how you can help solve them.
Yeah, and I've noticed that. I've seen how the algorithms have got a little bit more sophisticated over time. The type of content they reward, as to, obviously, the opposite to that is to penalize. So what I find with LinkedIn is they move things around a lot. So whenever I do some basic training on LinkedIn myself, I'll go, well, where is this? It's on this page somewhere. It used to be a hyperlink here and that. And I also figure that they do this at different stages with different people. So some people see a feature before others. So it's quite disjointed in that sense when it comes to teaching. But what do you think are the biggest things that LinkedIn have changed recently?
Yeah, it's a good point, and it also leads to this. I often get asked the question, like, do you have courses people can do? And the answer is no, we don't. And the reason for that is that by the time you put a course together, it's almost out of date. And so yeah, jumping on and finding a course about LinkedIn, I'm going to say if it's more than 6 months old, it's probably ready for a refresh. And so, but the significant things, as you mentioned, that have changed, two things. One is, as we've already mentioned, around this movement towards higher value, high quality content. So LinkedIn wants, well, I don't say wants, they are now. There's 1 billion people on the platform, and they want to have a 3 billion. That's their goal, is 3 billion people on the platform. And they know that the billion of us that are already here and the 2 billion to come over time, are really coming on the platform for specific purposes. And we're not looking for Facebook-like content. And I'm not, again, not putting down Facebook. It's fantastic for what it's designed for, but they don't want this type of content. We don't want to be talking about what we did on the weekends and sort of the. I'm sure you've seen a lot of content that's talking about some adversity that's happening to somebody, and sort of poor me type of thing. Again, fine on Facebook, but LinkedIn doesn't want that type of content. So they've designed a way to classify your content. And essentially they rank it as at the highest level, thought leadership level. Then there's marketing, and then there's Facebook-like content, and then there's spam. And they do this through AI technology. So that's the biggest change, is the implementation of AI, not so much as in to help us as individuals, but more to read the content quickly and give it a classification. So, and there's always been this idea of, well, how do I game the algorithm? And to some level, it was, there was some possibility to do that, but now in content, there's not. And one of the things I see regularly still, which is hey guys, stop doing it because it's not going to work, is where people have decided, okay, it's got to be about thought leadership. I'll start the post all about high level thought leadership, and at the bottom I'll pivot into a pitch. And of course the AI reads it and goes, only thing it sees is the pitch, and goes, okay, that's marketing, therefore lower levels of visibility. So that's the key thing in the way that the AI is classifying the content, which is one of the biggest shifts. The second, which is an ongoing, and it's still more to come, and I believe 2025 is going to be a really pivotal year, is this move away from what you can do on a free account as opposed to having a subscription to LinkedIn. And more, all of the new features that are being released over the last 6 months, almost 100% of them are only available to people on premium accounts. So if you're on a free account, it's getting harder and harder to really do anything. A good example of that is, like 12 months ago, you could send out, almost as many connection requests as you like. Now, if you're on a free account, it's limited to 5 per month, where you can also include a message as to why you want to connect, which is clearly the only way you should be sending connection requests. And if you're on a premium account, it's 200 a week. So a difference of 5 a month to 200 a week. That's the level of difference. And where the real change is coming, it's in beta release right now. What that means is it's only available to a certain number of people in certain locations for testing purposes. But I believe it will roll out to the whole network probably in about the third quarter of this year, is the ability to actually what we call boost a personal post, meaning that you can put some budget to it and you can increase the visibility of it. So you can imagine that, the amount of organic impressions you can get at the moment is going to go down and down and down because it's becoming a pay-to-play platform.
That's interesting. And I think obviously you got the 1 billion and they want the 3 billion. So this has an impact on people that already have their network and established LinkedIn, but even more so on the people that are yet to join. Okay. So they come in and they can only do 5 a week or month, whatever you said.
A month, yeah.
A month. They're going to grow that very slowly. So it becomes a necessity to pay something to have this moving along, which is interesting. And you also mentioned earlier that this organic skin cream, that only really went well, or primarily, or the leading factor to it going well, was that they were early adopters,
right,
of LinkedIn. The same argument could be said about AI in the same breath, really, which comes up on almost every conversation that we have on there. Is the people that are early adopters there, are they also, in your opinion, going to be the people that do well and stand out above other peer brands?
Well, there's two sides to AI. There's the way we use it as individuals, and then there's the way that the platforms are using it. So LinkedIn do have some degree of AI assistance that we can use to help us optimize our profiles and write content and stuff like that, which they're just okay. They're not awesome. However, where they're putting all of their time and resources more internally in how the platform is using AI to do and regulate certain things. So I think there's the budgets and things of Microsoft owns LinkedIn. One of the top 10 companies in the world. Clearly, their ability to put a incredible amount of resources behind these things, the same as Meta and the other platforms, is going to see incredible change in the coming sort of months or years. As opposed to how we will individually implement AI. I think that the biggest shift has probably mostly already happened, because at the end of the day, from a LinkedIn perspective, and I don't mean in the wider adoption of AI, is the only thing you can really use it for is content creation and how you might interact with people. So I think that those tools will continue to evolve, no doubt. And we've tested a number of them, and they're still lacking relative to what a high level copywriter can do. But the gap's closing, there's no doubt.
Okay, all right. And regarding your business and your services, and I like how you like to keep right on top of things because they become obsolete very quickly. What would you say your USP is?
Well, I think it's very much around exactly that, Tom, is that we really stay at the cutting edge of these changes. We have team members that their only role is just to constantly monitor the platform, test and measure things. We as an example, our team use 500 content creators every month to analyze their content, how that's performing, how it's changing over a period of time to maintain, because LinkedIn doesn't, like all platforms, don't really share how their algorithms exactly work. Someone's got to work it out. And one of the big things, Tom, one of the big mistakes that I see is that often people will make a judgment call based on what happens on their profile. And so I often see someone say, hey, you should start doing this on LinkedIn because I've been doing it, it works for me. And what we know and why we litmus test this over 500 different profiles. Now, these people some of them are our clients. Some are people that we know are doing really good things on LinkedIn. Some of them are sort of thought leaders, deemed thought leaders by LinkedIn, and others are people we know that are doing stuff really badly. Because unless you get a really wide scope of things, and what we often see is it's not linear. Just because something might work for you doesn't mean that universally that works for everybody. But there's also patterns where you can say, look, in 90% of cases, this seems to apply to everyone, and we can guide people towards, with that level of intel to, a better way that they can use their time.
And I think that extends further just into general business as well. I think that's a really good example. Okay, I already know the answer to this. I'm sure of it, but I'm going to ask it anyway because it's rude not to. Someone listening to this, they like you, they like your story, they like your services. They want to make contact with Adam. How should they make contact?
Yeah, look, two simple ways. Reach out to me on LinkedIn, but guys, please make sure you send me, if you're going to connect, say, hey, I was on Tom's podcast and love to connect, so I know where that's coming from. And of course, on our website, just prominence.global.
Yeah, brilliant. Okay, I really appreciate your time. I've enjoyed that, and I'm going to go and implement all your bits of free advice you've shared.
My pleasure.
Thanks, Adam. Thank you for watching this episode. I hope that you did enjoy it, had lots of takeaways from it. As before, please subscribe below so you can keep on top of any new releases we have. And also, if you would like to have your story told, just reach out with me and I'd love to give you that platform. My best email address is tom@purplepatchconsulting.com. Thank you.